I thought the house across the street was empty. Lights turned on every night at 11. By midnight, it went dark again. I ignored it for months, but the real problem wasn't the house. It was realizing someone had been inside mine. I always brushed off the rumors about the old Victorian house across the street from my apartment. It sat on a small hill, leaning slightly forward, like it was tired of its own weight. The windows were always dark and empty, like hollow eyes watching the neighborhood. People made jokes about it being haunted. Others said kids broke in sometimes to drink or get high. I worked nights as a security guard, so I heard the stories when I got off shift. Every time, I shrugged and blamed it on boredom and bad wiring. There was a pattern, though. Every few nights, at exactly 11 p.m., a warm, amber light flicked on inside the house. At midnight, it switched off. Same window, same glow, like clockwork. I would see it on my way home, or while I was getting ready to sleep. It annoyed me, but only distantly, like a dripping faucet in someone else's apartment. My life ran on routine and logic. If something did not fit, I folded it into a simple explanation and moved on. Kids, squatters, a timer, faulty wiring. Done. The first real crack showed up on a rainy Tuesday after a double shift. I got home, showered, ate, and checked my phone before bed. My smart bulb app said the kitchen light had turned on at 2:03 a.m. I was already in bed at that time. I stared at the log for a minute, then told myself it was a glitch, cheap tech. I reset the system and went to sleep. That night, I woke up to a shadow sliding across my bedroom curtain. It was not the shape of the neighbor's cat or a passing car. It was tall and narrow, like a person standing just outside and moving past. I held my breath and listened. A few seconds later, I heard floorboards creak somewhere downstairs. One slow, heavy step, then another, then nothing. Old buildings make noise, I told myself. Pipes, wood, temperature changes. I lay there, absolutely still, pretending that explanation was enough. In the morning, I emptied my small wastebasket and froze. There was a half-smoked cigarette butt sitting on top of the trash. I do not smoke. No one had been over. I picked it up with 2 fingers and brought it closer. The scent hit me immediately. Sandalwood, my mother's favorite perfume when she was alive. That specific smell, connected to something that had no business being in my room, went straight through whatever was left of my logic. After that, things stopped feeling like coincidence. Packages with no sender information started showing up at my door. No return address, no name. Just my details, cleanly printed. Most of them were empty padded envelopes or blank paper. I started hearing footsteps in the hallway outside my apartment. Slow, heavy, deliberate. By the time I got to the peephole, the hallway was always empty. No one running, no doors closing, just silence. The house across the street lit up again that week. The lights were brighter than before. From my window, it felt like they were shining directly at me, like someone inside had angled the lamps on purpose. That was when I started writing things down. Times, dates, sounds, anything strange. Not because I thought it would help, but because I was afraid I would start doubting myself if I did not. One night, going through a kitchen drawer, I noticed my spare bedroom key was missing. I had kept it in the same spot for years. I dug through every utensil and every piece of junk in that drawer. It was gone. I checked my internal security cameras. I had installed a few cheap ones that monitored the living room and hallway while I was at work. I scrubbed through hours of footage. Nothing, no one, just empty rooms. But in that same footage, I could see the framed photo on my mantle slowly facing the wrong way from one day to the next. In real time, I watched my toothbrush sitting perfectly dry on the bathroom sink. In the morning, when I went to use it, it was cool and damp, like someone had just rinsed it. One afternoon at the grocery store, it all spiked. I was standing in the spice aisle when I noticed a guy in a bulky hoodie a few feet away. He was half turned toward the shelves, phone pressed to his ear. I was not paying attention until I heard him whisper, "The routine holds. He suspects nothing." The words hit me in the chest. He never looked at me. He never raised his voice. But my heart started pounding like I had just been caught doing something wrong. I told myself it had to be about something else, some other guy, some other situation. I left my cart where it was and walked straight out of the store without buying a thing. When I got home, the air felt off, thicker, colder. The sandalwood smell hovered at the edge of every room, like someone had walked through the place 10 minutes before I arrived. I nailed my bedroom window shut that night, even though it meant less airflow. I slept with every light on. A few days later, while sorting mail, something slipped out from between two envelopes and fell to the floor. It was a Polaroid. The picture showed my living room, my couch, my coffee table, my television. The angle was from inside the apartment, slightly higher than eye level, like someone standing just inside the doorway. The timestamp at the bottom was from the afternoon before. I had been at work. That night, my smart home app sent another notification. Bedroom light activated, 1:47 a.m. I was in the kitchen when my phone buzzed. I had not touched any switches. I had not used the app. My hands were shaking when I went upstairs. My bedroom door was open. The light was on. The bed looked like someone had just gotten out of it. The covers were twisted. The pillow had a clear indentation exactly where my head would have been. The scent of sandalwood in that room was almost suffocating. Something in me broke. Fear stopped feeling abstract and became practical. Either I was losing my mind or someone had direct access to my life. Neither option felt survivable. At dusk the next day, in the rain, I crossed the street to the Victorian house. My boots slipped on the wet slope as I climbed the hill. The front door was slightly open, no sign of forced entry, no fresh damage. I pushed it with my fingertips. It swung inward with a low, tired creak. Inside, the layout was simple. A short hallway straight ahead, a staircase rising along the wall, a parlor opening on the right. My flashlight caught dust hanging in the air like ash. Furniture sat under stained white sheets. Everything smelled like old wood, mold, and something faintly metallic. I checked the parlor first. Old armchairs, a small table, a dead fireplace filled with debris. No fresh footprints in the dust, aside from my own. In the kitchen, I found something that finally made sense. A cheap plastic timer plugged into an outlet, wired to a cluster of standing lamps. That explained the 11 p.m. to midnight mystery. Recognizable logic should have calmed me. It did not. When I went back to the parlor, I saw the wall. An entire section was stripped bare and covered with photos. Every one of them showed my apartment window from across the street. They were arranged in chronological order, different seasons, different times. Some showed my silhouette moving inside. Others caught me eating, watching television, staring at my phone. The last row was newer, closer. One photo stopped me cold. It was me, asleep in my bed. The angle was from inside my bedroom, next to the wardrobe. There was no window, no glass, no barrier. I lock my door every night. The windows were shut and nailed closed, and yet someone had stood in my bedroom and taken that photo. I do not know how long I stood there. Then, somewhere above me, floorboards creaked. One step, then another. Slow, deliberate. A heavy door slammed shut somewhere in the house. I was not alone. Under the staircase, I noticed a metal grate set low into the wall. It was slightly ajar. Behind it was packed earth and a narrow opening sloping downward. From below, I heard voices. He knows now. Time to bring him home. I backed away so fast I almost fell over. My whole body was shaking. My first thought, the one everyone loves to say from the outside, was this: call the police. But standing there, that idea felt thin and useless. What was I going to report? That I heard voices under an old house? That I found a small crawl space opening with dirt slanting vaguely toward the hill? That someone might be using it like a tunnel to reach my building? I did not know where it actually went. I had not gone into it. Looking at the size of the opening and the condition of the wood and soil, I was honestly afraid that if I tried to crawl in alone, the whole thing might collapse and trap me. I could hear something below, but I could not see it. I could not record it. I could not prove it. And on my side of the street, in my apartment, there were no broken locks, no forced windows, no clear damage, just small changes. A moved picture, a damp toothbrush, a rumpled bed, a cigarette butt, a smell. To anyone else, that metal grate would just look like part of an old house. I left instead. I walked out, crossed back to my apartment, and barricaded my door with whatever heavy furniture I could drag in front of it. I shut down my smart devices and installed new cameras that stored footage on local drives only. No apps, no cloud, no remote access. If someone had gotten into my systems, I was not going to make it easier for them to watch. For a few days, nothing happened. The Victorian house stayed dark. No more scheduled lights, no obvious movement. But the silence did not feel like safety. It felt like waiting. The stalking did not stop. It became more focused. Every few days, another Polaroid showed up. They were not wide shots of my living room anymore. They were close-ups, small details, dust floating in a beam of light above my kitchen counter, a frayed thread on the arm of my favorite chair, the tiny scratch on the fridge door I had made trying to twist open a jar. Details I had noticed only once in passing, or had not noticed at all. The message had changed. It was not just, "I am watching you," anymore. It was, "I go where you go. I see the things you miss." I responded by building my own ritual. I called it the Object Catalog. Every night before bed, I took photos of my bedside table, my desk, my shelves, the bathroom sink. Same angle, same distance. In the morning, I compared them to the previous day's images. There were always differences. The salt shaker in the cupboard would be rotated a quarter turn. One book in a stack would be pushed slightly back compared to the others. The hand towel would quietly shift from one hook to the other. Nothing big enough to call an emergency over. Nothing dramatic enough to show a landlord or a cop and demand action. Just enough every time to prove that someone had been inside my space between one night and the next. I even let dust gather on the high shelves and left it untouched, hoping it would show a fingerprint or a smear. It never did. One Tuesday morning, I saw a utility crew down the street, working near the base of the hill below the Victorian house. Excavators, barriers, men in reflective vests digging into the road. For a moment, I felt real hope. If there was some kind of path or old line under there, maybe they'd uncover it. Maybe they'd collapse it. Maybe they'd find something that proved I wasn't imagining this. The next morning, my living room felt colder than usual. It was not just a draft. The chill seemed to be coming from the floor itself. I pulled up one of the loose boards near the wall to check the space underneath. I was expecting open earth, maybe piping, maybe signs of a tunnel. Instead, I saw smooth, pale concrete, fresh enough that it still looked clean and unscuffed. It ran along the edge of the room, following the perimeter like a band. They had not abandoned whatever was under my apartment. They had reinforced it, sealed it, not to keep me out, but to keep their sounds in. If they were digging or moving beneath me, I would not hear it anymore. The utility crew's noise outside would have been perfect cover for concrete mixing, hauling, filling. Silent work under my floor, while trucks and drills roared a few meters away. By the time those workers packed up and left, whatever was down there was finished. That evening, when I got home from a shift, an envelope was waiting just inside my door. No address, no stamp, just lying there on the floor. My stomach dropped before I even opened it. Inside was a single Polaroid. It was not my kitchen. It was not my living room. It was me. My face took up most of the frame. Eyes closed, mouth slightly open. I looked unconscious, not asleep. The background was not my bed. I recognized the pattern on the wall behind me, the dark wooden paneling, the ceiling texture. It was the parlor in the Victorian house. I was lying on the dusty couch in that room, the same one I had seen in person, directly under the wall of surveillance photos. Someone had carried me there, arranged me, taken that picture while I was out cold. I had no memory of leaving my apartment, no memory of crossing the street, no memory of waking up somewhere else. But as I stood there staring at the image, I became aware of a deep ache in my shoulder and a stiffness in my neck, like I had slept in a terrible position, or been handled roughly. It felt exactly like the soreness after a strong sedative wears off. I had experienced that once in a hospital years earlier. The body remembers. Now every night I stand at my apartment window and look across at the Victorian house. It is dark on the outside, silent. No more flickering lights at 11 p.m., no more obvious signals. I know they are still there. I taste sandalwood sometimes, even when I am not anywhere near my bedroom or bathroom. There is a metallic edge to it now, like it is mixed with fear in the back of my throat. I do not wait for their lights anymore. I wait for the moment my own go out. Not the bulbs, mine. Because the last photo proved something I'd been trying not to accept. They can get to me whenever they want. They can move me, drug me, pose me, bring me back without my knowledge. I am part of their routine now, and I know with a cold, steady certainty that somewhere in whatever system they are using, photos, notes, logs, they have already recorded the exact angle of my salt shaker, the exact timing of when I check the door, the exact way I stand by this window at night. They are just waiting for the perfect moment. The moment when changing one more small detail means I do not come back.